Hey, what's up, everybody? Bdf 44 coming at you with another video. All right, man. Feeling pretty good. Did my laundry this morning. Weather's nice. It rained a little bit yesterday, as you probably heard on my videos. If you watched those Laker videos last night, it was raining pretty good, but it's cleared up. It's nice. Probably about 73, 74 degrees. Feel pretty comfortable. And just now going down to the local Target to grab a few things. I couldn't make it a long trip, honestly. It's plenty enough time to do it, but I got so many playlist art projects that I have to accomplish that I try to make this a local trip and then head back here and do that. That's the plan anyway. So yeah, man, what's going on? There's so much going on in the world, as you guys know. Kristi Noem's husband's been outed as a transdresser who has an affinity for wearing fake boobs. Wild stuff. Kristi Noem is a lady that represents Donald Trump. She's essentially been on the forefront of a lot of different things that he's talking about. And she's a spokesperson for him, essentially, on a lot of different topics. And yeah, she's asking for prayers and privacy at this time, and it's a lot of jokes online naturally with the footage, well, not footage, but pictures of this man out. He essentially said he didn't break any laws, nor did he leak any sensitive information. He didn't deny it was him. He just said, yo, I never released any sensitive information. They're like, what the hell does that have to do with anything? Nobody thought you did. You're just looking at this crazy stuff that you're doing. You made a bad look for your wife in the administration. But I mean, some of the jokes were funny, but I just like, man, this age, I just expect most individuals got their own weird kinks. This just happens to be his. I'm not here to really shame people who have this type of lifestyle or whatever. And you do it behind your wife's back, it's gonna be a problem. And obviously she's behaving as if she didn't know. Although I have a hard time believing that she didn't have some inclination that this man has alternate ways of doing things, but whatever. The point is, I believe it was Iran who was able to get a hold of that and release it to the public. I don't know if Iran has come out and said they did that. I don't know, but it is what it is, man. I think the point that Iran is essentially seeming to want to make is that they can get through the firewalls that ultimately are secret and sensitive American information is behind. They can get to it. That's basically what they're showing all of us if they did this. That there's nothing that y'all doing in the dark that we don't have access to. And in the art of war, information is something that can be weaponized. I mean, this is what it is. But I would say like this: Kristi Noem's husband should have known better than to leave any evidence of his behaviors or his lifestyle. He should have known better than to record any of that. That's, you know what I mean? It should have never been accessible. So yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that. That's his lifestyle, man. Like I said, I'm not the kink shaming type of guy. I didn't go around posting a good portion of what it is that what the jokes were and stuff. I laughed a little bit and pushed along, but it wasn't really, that's just not really what I'm about, to be honest with you. But yeah, man, so that's the news going on out there. What else is happening? A lot of this stuff is going in one ear and out the other as it pertains to me. I am watching a lot of stuff, but I'm not retaining a lot of it. I think I'm mentally and exhausted of the evil of this administration and Israel and that little collaboration. The details of what they're doing. It's just more of the same of what we've been seeing, man. They're just doing it to different people, doing it to the same people. It's just it's the same playbook, man. Bombing hospitals, labeling people terrorists, passing evil laws that ultimately make it okay to harm people. I guess that's the latest thing. What's going on in Israel is they passed a law that they could execute Palestinian hostages, which is what it really is. They call them prisoners. They got them in these prisons. But they're talking about hanging these people using different various ways of putting the death penalty on these people. And a lot of them who are in those prisons were hostages. Some of them arrested as children, who haven't been convicted of anything, who haven't seen as much as a lawyer in a lot of cases, just arrested for their race, or arrested because they were looking for one person and didn't find that person, so they decided to take somebody else to meet the quota of the bodies. And they kept these people in prison. And Ben Gvir, who is alive, we talked about very recently, he had been reported to have been severely injured. Well, he did not lose his life, but instead is out continuing on the path of advocating for this law to pass, for which it did in Israel. So now they're gonna start. I think from what I understand, and this is a loose from understanding, but they have like 90 days before they can start executing Palestinians in these prisons. But they have every intention of executing just about everybody they have, and that's my understanding. And they're gonna hang a good portion of them, but they're also gonna use different means like the electric chair and stuff like that. This law is only applies to Palestinians. It does not apply to Jews. So this is the first time a state or a country has passed a law to execute a certain ethnicity or group and not everyone else, since the Nazis did it in Germany. So yeah, Israel has aligned themselves with Germany in that regime. And my thing is, like, we're getting to a point where racism is unapologetic once again in America, because they have, and one of the reasons why they've been pushing and to mobilize, empowering people who are bigoted. Once again, one of the reasons, it wasn't just to get Donald Trump in office several years ago, because that's really when this kind of happened, but it's actually to normalize the behaviors in Israel so that they don't have to explain to all of us as we are outraged by what we're seeing. They're kind of dipping our toes in the sand or in the water, so to speak, to get us kind of used to what ultimately cannot be explained away. Just has to be normalized, which is the reinsertion of racism and normalizing racist policies to align us with our greatest ally, Israel, who is unapologetically and systematically bigoted and racist. So it's like, since everything is Israel first, Israel has America by the balls. I think my theory is they had to once again reincorporate and empower the voices of the bigoted in this country to bring about a certain support for what is already normalized in Israel. And I may have mentioned that before in one of these many conversations on this channel, but that's just my theory of what's been going on there. Like, they needed people to be fine with this. And they know that there's a good portion of people in this country who are very fine with that. So if we can get those people behind us and get those people out loud and speaking about what it is that ultimately they believe, we can have them back Israel. And then we don't have to explain to the American public why the hell the policies that are taking place in Israel are taking place without the presence of some environment that would otherwise champion it. And I think that was the real reason why Donald Trump, when he first initially ran, trying to immobilize and empower the white nationalists and the bigoted and the anti people of color racists in this country. It empowered these people, get them loud and proud and feeling confident again, get them in a space where they're feeling heard and they're speaking loud and not cowering behind the what's politically correct for what we've created in the balance of all these civil rights movements and women's rights movements and gay rights movements that have essentially made the world, the American Western world, so incredibly and vehemently against racism, trying to introduce Israel in the way that they are trying to right now to that world that was present 8 years ago, 7 years ago, when racists were quiet and everybody was in harmony about one another's differences, or trying to be, advocating to be, and making it normal and to be and rude to be racist. It wasn't gonna work. They would have seen a discomfort to what it is they're trying to normalize. That this is otherwise the solution for. So that's what I think has really been going on there. Like, how do we get these people cool with Israel and what Israel is just inherently doing? Because most people ain't looking at Israel. They've effectively made it so that we don't question the Jews and question whether what they're doing. They're better and they're richer, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. And a lot of us didn't know. But Israel was about to get loud. They were about to commit this damn genocide. They had effectively taken over our government. Now they wanted to get us into this war with Iran. And they needed support for all of these things that they're trying to put in, that they are now implementing. They're now executing, rather. Plans that have been in place for 20, 30, 40 years. How do you make these bleeding heart Americans and these docile racist people who are afraid of losing everything in the Me Too movement comfortable with Israel and what Israel's trying to do? And that's what I believe the equation has been for these people. So yeah, man, we're watching a lot of stuff happen, but we're also seeing what looks a little confusing, and to say that there's losses being taken by Israel. Did Israel count for these losses? Now, I think from a spiritual perspective, as I mentioned many times, I don't think they care anything about losses. They sacrifice anybody and everybody. They're very comfortable with everybody dying for their cause. But it does stand a reason why a person would wonder, yo, is this what y'all wanted? Because y'all country is going haywire. You know, it's a lot of information coming out that's going on in regards to Israel about the damages that they're taking systematically, their structural damages, the chaos going on in the streets out there. You know, people are coming up with new schemes of you know, getting free things, looting, so to speak, but in a different kind of way. People will go to in Israel, they go to these restaurants or outdoor restaurant type places, sit down, order food, eat, wait for a bomb alarm to go off for incoming missiles, and then skip out on the tab, not pay the tab because they're running for their lives. There's a means of a strategy to ensure that they get free food. Like, you know, it's just stuff like that that's coming out. It's kind of funny, but it's kind of on brand for these people, to be honest with you. Deplorable, stealing from one another, beating each other up. And as I said, you know, the devil's people, when you serve the devil, you can't trust anybody. Everybody who serves the devil and clicks up on one another is destined to either turn on one another, snitch on one another. When the pressure gets tight, they're going to let one another's information go. You know, they're going to turn on one another out of greed. It's just a natural occurrence when you serve the enemy of God. His own failure will be facilitated through his own people. And that's kind of just one of the mainstays of that type of thing. So, and most of the time when people are involved in that type of stuff, they're the last ones to see it. We talk about this all the time, but you know, it's like y'all engage in these devilish behaviors, and you think you have the world fooled, but you don't have the universe fooled, so to speak. God himself fooled. You're not fooling the gravity as it pulls us all down. You know, like, you can fool man, but you can't fool the reality itself. Truth itself is still existing, whether you try to deny it or, you know, don't speak of it or what have you. And so, naturally, There are certain rules that are going to be followed when you do certain things are to occur. And they've engaged in a lot of devilishness, satanic energy, things that are meant to exalt the enemy of God. And with that comes certain mainstays, like betrayal, like turning on one another, like just unwanted consequences that they are ultimately beginning to see come to pass. And so, did they want this? Is this what the plan was? I don't know. But I keep hearing stories about children that have been killed in Lebanon. This is like Gaza all over again, you know. They're doing to Lebanon what they did to Gaza, basically. They're genociding that place. They're killing anything they see, and they're trying to justify it in a different kind of way. Because when they did this in Palestine, or as they began doing this in Palestine, as they still are, they were essentially saying Hamas, it was a terror attack that ultimately made this happen. Why we have to go about doing this is because of the terror attack. When it comes to Lebanon, it's almost like the cat's out of the bag, and they really don't give a damn what we think. They're like, we're taking over this land, we're killing everybody there. It's not that anybody did anything to us, we're just conquering the land. And if people pay attention to what's going on over there in Lebanon, you'll realize that that's exactly what they're essentially saying. They're not giving an excuse. There's no Hamas. No one's done anything to Israel in Lebanon. Technically, they're just taking it. They want their greater Israel, and they're going to take it. They're going to take every bit of the land necessary to secure that project. And I tell people, if you're going to back Israel on the forefront, if you're going to stand in front of everybody and say, yo, this is where I'm putting my money, these are the people I'm doing my business with, these are the people, this is what we're about, we stand and we're Zionists and we believe that Jewish people have the right to their own state. If that's what you're saying from here on out, you do need to understand that Israel is no longer backing you up. They're throwing all PR out the window. They're saying the quiet part out loud. And they become rather reckless with that stance, as if they don't feel there's any consequence for it anymore. And so if you're going to back them from here on out, you had better understand that that's the position they're taking. And I still think that a lot of Western people, particularly in America, we still have this mentality that we've had for a long time, which is we don't pay attention to politics. We're not interested in politics. We're irritated by politics. We don't want politics in our sports conversations. We don't want politics in any conversations at all. We just want to follow our interests in life. And when it's time to do business, we do business with whoever who's the greatest bidder, and that's a harmless thing. But at this point, you had better at least have some notion of what it is that's going on in that situation, or you're gonna place your money in places that ultimately real bad for business, man. Just really bad for PR. These folks really don't care about making people comfortable anymore. They're not interested in, people are going to be offended, let's tiptoe. They're not interested in tiptoeing over your feelings. They really are discarding humanity entirely, and they're leaving everybody to fend for themselves as it pertains to how you feel about it. This is where we're at right now with those folks. They feel they're better than you. They feel they're better than everybody. And they feel that you, being lesser than them, are here to serve them. You're supposed to be their slaves. You're supposed to be fighting for their causes. And you're supposed to be comfortable with them doing the bare minimum to defend themselves, because that's what you're for. And if you're not standing with that, or if you're not aligned with that, they really could care less. And it's like, that's where they're at. That's where they're beginning. That's what their rhetoric is beginning to say. It's like, yo, you're the goy, you're other, we're best, do what we say or else. And it's like, if that's what you're doing, then you're going to get business with those people. You got to understand the backlash is still the same for the rest of us. That's not something that we're going to welcome. Obviously, it's a bunch of people from a lot of different countries who are going to be patronizing your business. If you're going to be standing with people who are essentially giving the finger to everybody but their own people, then they're going to be ultimately boycotting you. They're going to be looking at you like you're somebody that ultimately aligns with that energy, and ultimately we're going to ignore you, or whatever the word would be. It's going to be bad for business. And that's ultimately what I think people have neglected in the process of valuing money, but not necessarily paying attention to the politics. Valuing business and the numbers, but not necessarily paying attention to the literal apartheid going on in these places that these folks represent. You know? And it becomes a situation where if you align with that, then you have to be ready to defend it. And in defending it, you got to understand what that actually means. That means you're going to be associated with people who've done this in the past. Nazis, slave owners, cartoonish villains, the imperial stormtroopers. Like, you got to understand who also took that stance, and that you will be another one of them. Because Israel at this point is comfortable with that label. The Zionists at this point are making peace with that label. They're realizing that the victim psychology, self-victimization psychology is no longer working. It's not, no one's buying it anymore. That the Hamas narrative has no legs at all. They understand that they're kind of out in the open. So it's time to own it, is essentially where we're at with Israel. And if you're not ready to stand with them in owning it, you had better moonwalk. Essentially what I'm saying to you, you better moonwalk. And so people like, for example, like we talked about this last time I was at this park, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, who had their money wrapped up in these folks, some of these $7,000 taker influencers who are aligning with Israel and all that. I don't think you understand what you're in for going forward. And I don't think there's a way to measure what you could potentially be in for either, if I'm being completely honest with you. Because these people are killing kids all over the world, and you're essentially being a spokesperson for their interests. And so we look at the Lindsey Grahams and these politicians and all of this. They are standing on this hill for reasons of their own. I cannot be certain what the world's going to do with you when all of this shakes itself out. And I don't know that this is really being articulated in the way that I'm trying to articulate it. But with the damage that Israel is doing and the Zionists is actually doing to the world, a good portion of the consequences of their behavior has yet to fall upon the earth like it's set to, so to speak. A lot of what it is they're doing is going to cost a lot of people a lot of lives. It's going to cause a lot of harm. It's going to cause people losing a lot of money. It's going to cause a lot of destruction that is yet to come to pass. A lot of buildings that are upright right now are going to come down because of what it is they're doing, and people are going to be in it, just like in Gaza. A lot of rubble, a lot of crying mothers. A lot of that stuff is just what comes with the behavior they're engaging in. So if you, in 2026, are trying to gain $7,000 or trying to align with who you think is the winning side, or you're a believer because of your Christian beliefs, your politics, or whatever the case may be. If you're aligned with these people and you're being the face of what it is that's going on, and the buildings come down, and destruction comes from the atomic bombs of the wars that they're waging, and all this stuff happens, people dying everywhere, and all this horrible stuff that could potentially come about because of their actions. And they either retreat to their bunkers or be captured, or whatever's going to happen, whatever the world does. When it comes to these people who were co-signing what they were doing, when it comes to these influencers who were trying to make normal their power before the destruction hit, that world and what they want to do to punish those who normalized Israel, I can't be certain there's any precedent to that right now. And that's I'm trying to paint a very specific picture, man. Like, in the world you're in, nobody's looking to hang you. like at all. We may be unhappy with you. We may be disgusted with you. We may think you're the worst people in the world, so to speak. But there's still a structure of the land around us to where we're looking around and we're saying, okay, that's an awful human being. They still have human rights. That's an awful human being. But we're not going to do anything strange to them. Strange and unusual punishment is not something that we welcome in 2026 because we still believe in the Constitution. The world that Israel is creating for us is doing away with that Constitution. It's going to do away with a lot of things that ultimately holds us together and keeps us, structurally sound and ultimately docile in behavior. Civilization, people got jobs to keep, people got families to raise, people have dreams that look like they're possible so long as they stay on the path they're on. People believe in the capitalistic process and promise. People are enjoying the capitalistic process and promise. A lot of people are living the American dream, and in the environment where enough people either believe in the American dream or are living toward the American dream, you can stand comfortably understanding that the worst thing that someone will want to do to you is likely want to put you in prison for any crime that you do. If all of that deteriorates and people live forward their days but no longer see possible their dreams, all they see is a lifetime of rebuilding what has been destroyed around them, ultimately trying to escape spaces that are no longer inhabitable, and have lived now however long it would have been in this space. Those people who took that $7,000 and those people who were good with Israel taking over our country, and those individuals who were fine with Israel doing whatever it is they were trying to do, and those Zionists who were unapologetic, supporting and laughing when people were dying and all that. I don't know that the world that you are enabling to take place won't do things to you that just are not possible in the times that you're doing them in. When you talk about what Israel is doing to Palestinian prisoners, what they're doing is normalizing and giving birth to an idea of how people can be treated going forward and what could be adapted to as normal as it pertains to very, very sick and demented behaviors. And that suggestion in the world is a problem because people will mimic that suggestion and find themselves comfortable with adapting to it. That's what's wrong with the celebration of our word-ist in Israel. Why that is such a dangerous and demented example. What they're showing all of us is that you can too find yourself thinking this is fine to do to your enemy. That you are in a world where you would never think to do this, but look over here, we're thinking and enjoying it. And so when they do that, you enter into the equation new ideas, new norms, and new aspirations of desensitization as it pertains to how to handle your enemies. So when I tell you $7,000 pushes, that I can't promise you that anything precedented will come of you, you got to understand what's being created by what it is you are allowing to be normalized by way of your choices in aligning with those people. Because what they're trying to reintroduce into our society is what it is that a lot of our ancestors fought hard to overcome. Racism. Civil rights movements that took place that were meant to make it so that all of us can live amongst one another in harmony. Israel's trying to undo all of that. The Zionist movement is about undoing all of that. They want to hurt people because of their race, not because of what they've done. Not because of anything that they even would do, but that for which they exist gives them a death sentence. We've worked hard to overcome the trauma that came with slavery, the trauma that came with some of the movements of the past. In this era, these people are trying to make us revisit those realities and bring them back into our environment. And they're doing it to multiple people at once. They're doing it to Spanish people and immigrants. This is a racism. It's the same stuff they did to the Japanese and round them up and put them in concentration camps. They're trying to renormalize that same behavior. And what they did to the black people and putting us in slavery and doing all the weird stuff that was done in regards to slavery, which is not spoken of very much. All of the different weird things that took place during chattel slavery and the weird practices that were placed upon African Americans. The genocide that was placed upon Native American people. And how many of those people they killed to create the land that we have. They're trying to reincorporate all of those practices back into our lives. They're trying to reincorporate all of that abnormality, things that we've learned lessons in regards to. They're trying to make it so that we're doing those things again, that we're living that way again, so that we have to fight all over again to undo all of that nonsense. And the safety that you count on in your life, regardless if you're walking the right way or the wrong way, is incumbent upon a lot of those things coming together in unison to assure that your environment is not after you. And I want everybody to hear this, man. It doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on, whether you're on my side of this or not. You benefit greatly from an environment where people are not looking to harm one another. You're from an environment, you're from a country where people are not looking to hurt one another over their race, over their religion. You're from that. A good portion of your childhood was for a benefit to you because nobody was looking to harm you for something that someone else did to someone else in the past or something like that. When you deteriorate that, what you know is normal and what you're comfortable with is too deteriorated, and a lot of what it is that you cannot fathom suddenly becomes your reality. Unprecedented traumas could potentially be in your life every day. From making black people revisit the pain of slavery, from making Native American people revisit the pain of genocide, for what's going on with people in this country right now in regards to this ICE stuff and what we're doing to these immigrants. You're making people revisit traumas they've already longed to forget. And this is why I always say white supremacy and Zionist supremacy is dangerous for the Zionists and for the whites. Because when people start looking at what's wrong with their lives, they start looking at people who look like people who've done the things that have been done to them. They're not going to chase down the person who harmed them. They're going to chase down the person that's their damn doppelganger. Waging war against individuals is never going to make a society safer. Harming people and instilling trauma in the lives of people and snatching people's kids away from them is not going to make it so that people now are looking to be docile and be afraid of you and no longer want to attack you. It does the opposite. It does the opposite. It turns people into kamikaze crash outs, man. It does the opposite. And for those of us who don't welcome that, we need to not be confused by that, because the people who are welcoming on that, they want that. They want that. What they believe in spiritually, what they believe in regards to their religion, welcomes that chaos and that destruction to their reality. They want that. And that's why I think a big portion of the disconnect is. Because a lot of people don't really understand that aspect of it. They're measuring things the wrong way. So these folks who are doing this want the destruction that comes with it. They don't suspect this is going to work. They don't suspect that they're going to find harmony because it is. They don't suspect that people are going to leave them alone because it is. They don't suspect that they're going to be championed as great individual conquerors because it is. They're trying to bring about destruction and the end of the world. This is their aim. This is what they want. So if you don't want that, if that's not what you're about, if you don't welcome the unprecedented nature of an unsafe world around you that is birthed from that, you need to rethink your support for that. And a lot of y'all are too irresponsible or just too spiritually broken or too in the dumps in regards to your own self-love to actually represent yourselves in a way that backs up the reality that you hope to maintain, the safety that you hope to see. A lot of y'all who are the most evil people and the most wicked people are pet owners who love their pets. You do understand that you're putting your pets in danger when you create that environment for which they have to exist. That's the shit that kills me. It's a lot of these devil worshippers, but their parents, they love their kids. They're dog owners and they love their dogs. They welcome all this evil. They want to hurt everybody and make themselves be the most hated people in the world, but they have things they want to protect. They got businesses they want to keep up. Like, fam, you're putting all of that in the crosshairs when you champion behaviors that deteriorate the safety that you're used to. When you other people for their race, you create a target on your back that comes from trauma that you instill in others by way of what you're championing and ultimately your disassociation with their pain. And that we can't see the forest for the trees is going to be harmful for others who are coming later on down the road. And I've been trying to use my voice for a little while now, maybe 4 years now, with each and every video that I have these conversations in, try to paint a picture of just what we're tumbling forward, just what we're creating, just what we're allowing to be created, and that we will be at fault for it. And that our why for allowing that to happen may not align with those who are ultimately dreaming for this to pass. Some people are just broken and not going to be broken for long. Some people just are cool with hate because they hate themselves. They ain't going to hate themselves forever. They're about to find their passion in life tomorrow. They're about to meet the person they're going to fall in love with very soon. They're about to have a spiritual awakening that changes their mindset and makes it so that they love life all of a sudden. And then the consequences of what they did and what they championed ultimately come down after they found that awakening. Allowing temporary brokenness and a lack of self-awareness to create an environment for which they'll be blamed for. And you know what they're going to fall back on? Well, we didn't know any better. We were propagandized. How are we supposed to know this was going to happen? It's exactly what they're going to say. And you know what the people are going to say? We're angry with you and we're going to do to you what we're going to do to you, going to say? They don't care. Just like you didn't care, we don't care. The disassociation with cause and effect as it pertains to this championing of Zionist behaviors and Zionist supremacy, and the correlation it's going to have with the potential devastation that all of us are going to have to live through is staggering. It's absolutely staggering. We could potentially lose millions of people over this stupid stuff. And for a humanity that has just survived COVID, something that put all of us at risk, we have to know that we're not in control of everything that could be possible ahead. We have to understand that germ warfare may have just been getting started with COVID, and we could have other things that we have to try to survive in the future that may be even more harmful than that, including the changing in climate, which could burn us all to death. And you want to create these problems amongst one another when you got bigger problems from which to face? That's why the devil's trying to coerce those problems into your life so that you cannot defend yourself against those things for which you cannot otherwise work with unless you work with one another. And we are too stupid and jaded and propagandized to understand that we've already been given a hint of what the future could be holding for one another. You may have to work with people you don't like. You may have to work with people you've been taught are the worst people in the world to survive what it is that collectively could kill us. And you think your excuse for not knowing any better is going to save you from those consequences? Going to make it so that people want to welcome you in their home when the next COVID or whatever the hell it's going to be hits? They're going to leave your ass outside because you championed the problem that deteriorated the process that would ultimately kept us together in the first place. You made us undo all of the good that we worked so hard to put together so that we could live amongst one another in freedom. And you made it so that people were reminded of what it is that one another have done to one another. And now we got to work with one another in that process to try to survive. That's what's possible. That's what we're neglecting. That's what we're too stupid to realize. That's what we're in the position that we're in right now, where so many people are comfortable with welcoming the destruction of their own societies in the name of people who want destruction for everybody's societies, starting with their very own. I don't know about you, but I don't want devil worshippers to tell the story about what happens to me. I'm not aligning with them. I've become very clear on what it is that they're doing and why they're doing it, and I'm not following them down that path. And I would suggest, if you like safety and happiness and harmony, you don't follow them down that path either. You don't champion them when it's comfortable to do so, when everybody's telling you should. You stand alone and act as if you have an understanding of what could be possible for doing things the right way. Because our ancestors have already showed us what it looks like when you're living through things the wrong way. We haven't even made right half of the things that we created for ourselves. These conundrums, people talking about reparations and all these different things. We ain't even made right the problems that we created in the past. And we're going to champion the cultures that ultimately made all of that possible? We're going to allow people who serve the devil to allow for that nonsense to be in our lives again? People who don't care about the wisdom that we've learned? People who just want to see us burn? We're going to let them coerce us down a path for which we revisit pains. We revisit guilt. We revisit destruction. We revisit a world and a time where we didn't treat one another with respect. I'm not letting Israel do that to me. I'm not letting these Zionist devil supporters do that to me. Because I understand them as well as anything in this world. And what I understand is that they're coursing themselves down a path that they are not going to be pleased with, just like we're welcoming same thing into our lives by allowing them to engage in what they're engaging in our presence without resistance. This needs to stop, or we're going to feel what comes with not allowing for peace to be championed in our societies going forward. That peace, there's a wisdom aligned with peace. There's a wisdom aligned with solidarity that we are neglecting as we continue to move in capitalism, and whoever has the money has the power. We are neglecting some very essential preventative measures. Essential for keeping our families safe, essential for seeing our children have a path to their dreams. Essential to seeing us being able to live our lives without looking over our shoulders, each and every one of us. You're going to let Israel deteriorate that? You're going to let these Zionists who've been kicked out of 109 countries? 109 countries. They couldn't live amongst people 109 different times. Some of them countries repeatedly. Some of them countries kicked them out 4 and 5 times over the course of 300 years. Because they kept these practices up, trying to deteriorate every society they implemented themselves into. Why? Because they want destruction. That's the purpose. They want destruction. They don't want peace. They don't want harmony. They don't want children to be saved. They don't want people to thrive and have none of it. No, they want destruction. And so when you implement what they do anywhere, then comes destruction. And in order for that society to protect itself from destruction, it would need to purge out that cancer. That's why they've been kicked out of 109 countries. Because each of those countries didn't desire to destroy itself by way of them. And now they've come collectively and said, yo, we deserve a land. No, you don't. You do not deserve anything. Because all you want to do is destroy everything. So for those people who are afraid of politics, I don't want to talk about politics. That's too deep. I don't want to talk about that. You're neglectful at this point, because this is the information that's deep inside of those politics. This is what's there. Oh, yeah, I was listening to somebody I appreciate a great deal. He was saying, man, and we don't want to talk about that because I got plans going on. I'm trying to get deals. Man, them deals are going to be ripped up. They're going to rip up every last one of them damn contracts, bro. They don't give a damn about you and your plans and your dreams. And if you would pay attention to what it is that we've been telling you in regards to them, you wouldn't be confused about being able to do deals with these people that are going to work out for you going forward. They're trying to bring about the end of the world, dog. Don't you get it? These are devil worshippers. They worship Satan, bro. Satan hates the world, he even hates himself, bro. He don't want nothing at all but destruction. That's it. You can't reason with this. There's nothing to reason with. Its only reason is to see you gone, like destroyed and unhappy all the way to the grave. That's all it's about. It's an eraser, friend. It's like a pencil trying to reason with an eraser. No, bro, no. You can't do deals with them. They won't honor anything at all. They're hurting people for their race, for the reason of their race. You can't reason with these people. And the only reason why you think you can is because you don't know enough about them. It's your ignorance that they are comfortable with, that they're able to do all this because of. You being naive is to think that you can do anything with these people other than fight them. That's all they're going to allow you to do. In the end, and so that's what I've learned through not neglecting politics, but throwing myself into the details of this situation and sitting with it throughout the course of the last 4 years. I've learned a lot about these people, man. A whole lot. And this is the conclusion that I've come to with a reasonable, sane, and sober mind. Very sober. I ain't drunk nothing since this genocide began. I ain't smoked nothing since this genocide began. I'm very sober. And I'm telling you, this is the conclusion that a sober mind's going to come to when you see all of the information that's there. You need not neglect it because it's going to help you understand and how to navigate what's to come or what could potentially be, and how to position yourself to defend yourself against that for which is coming and what could potentially be. You don't want what they want for you. Goy, you don't want that. This ain't just about stealing land. This is about destroying communities, man. Belittling people and labeling people things, and then trying to coerce people into behaving as those labels would otherwise describe. They want to turn you into a terrorist. But first they want to call you one. You understand what I'm saying to you? And they want to tell you that the people that they are essentially doing this to first are basically everything that they are. Everything that they actually are, they are labeling somebody else. They're projecting onto somebody else and making you afraid of those people. Making you think that those people do that. No, that's what they do. I'm so frustrated with one of my good childhood friends because she's posting every day something about radical Islam. Radical this, oh, this is what Islam did, it's like this. She's posting stuff every day. She's really, really passionate about this. The problem is it's all propaganda. It's all Zionist propaganda, all of it. And I just don't have the heart to tell her, "Lo, would you take a look at some things that I've learned here?" Because what I've learned here is that yes, you and I are both passionate about ending the same things, but who you think is doing those things are not who's doing those things. And if I thought Islam was doing those things, I would be vehemently speaking this way about Islam. If I had, within my studies, found that they were doing these things, I would be posting about them and talking about them just like I'm talking about these damn Zionist Jews. It don't matter who it is that's doing these behaviors. These behaviors should not be done. It just so happens that it's the Zionist Jews who are championing these behaviors. And in the process of championing these behaviors, they've applied all of that to the Islamic people so that you would then turn all of the vitriol that you should otherwise point at them for behaving this way at the Islamic people. That's their purpose. They want to do that there, right there. And they've been doing that there for a long time. You're a person of God, you believe in Jesus Christ, you don't like these behaviors, you need the information that helps you understand who's actually engaging in these behaviors and not thinking that it's one people when it's actually somebody else. How do you get that information in the head of somebody who already has made up their mind in what it is that they've seen and they believe what it is they believe? How do you get somebody to understand that they aren't wrong for being unhappy with what they're unhappy with? They just got it wrong in regards to who's doing it versus who they believe is doing it. And that is by design, that you've been duped, that somebody did this to you. You are a victim of this. This is exactly what those who meant to engage in those behaviors that you don't like need you to be like so that they can continue these behaviors. How do you get that in the head of somebody? How do you suggest that to somebody and make them believe it? I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I have another friend, as I mentioned this many times, she didn't want to have the Israel conversation with me. She thinks I'm an anti-Semite. My fam, I love Jewish people. I just am not confused who's actually Jewish. That's all. And if you do your own homework, you'll find out what I've learned, and then you'll rationally, with your sober mind, come to the same conclusion I have. I'm not an irrational hater. If anything, I'm an irrational lover because I want to see everybody succeed. And so how do I see everybody succeed? The two obviously wage war against the eraser, that for which wants to see everybody destroyed. That's how you do it. But you got to identify what that is and who that is properly. If you don't identify who that is properly, you're not going to save humanity, so to speak. You're not going to, raise proper awareness to liberate minds. You're driving people further into the propaganda. You're driving people further down the wrong path that enables the behaviors that ultimately you don't appreciate. And by the time people figure this out, it's going to be too late. A lot of us who have yet to figure this out, it's going to be too late, man. By the time you realize Islam was never your enemy, it was your greatest ally that ultimately was your enemy, it's going to be too late. They would have already dropped bombs on our heads. We would already be under rubble when we figure that shit out. I hope I get this right. But I believe it was the USS Liberty. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but there was a ship back in the 1930s or something. I don't know when this happened, to be honest with you. I'm not a historian. But I've heard this story several times recently. Essentially, it was a ship in the middle of an ocean, the Indian Ocean, one of the oceans, I don't know. And they saw Israeli ships approaching them from a distance. And they saw them, and they were like, yo, here come our allies. Of course, we're naval members, so of course our allies are Israel. When we see them, we're going to be cool. All of a sudden, those Israeli ships fired on that ship, destroyed so many people on that ship trying to sink that ship, killing hundreds, if not thousands, of naval officers. But they never sank the ship. And they left some survivors. It was so confusing to these naval officers, they had a hard time grasping what was happening to them. Even though they were watching Israel shoot at them, their thoughts were, well, somebody obviously hijacked these Israeli ships. Somebody's hijacked these ships and are now framing our allies, making it look like, we're being attacked by our allies. Until they were able to see some of the men on the ship. And they were Israeli. And they were bombing them. They were shooting at them. did they understand that they had truly been betrayed by their allies. It was at that point when they realized something was awry. None of them were supposed to survive. This was not supposed to be on Earth, but a couple of them people actually survived somehow. And as a result of them surviving, they were able to tell the story of what happened there. And the people who were survived to tell the story were shunned, threatened, lives made miserable all the way up until this point. But that story was still told. One of those individuals was on a Candace Owens' platform about 2 years ago. I watched the entire interview. Moving stuff, especially if you're a patriot, moving stuff. The USS Liberty, as I believe is the name of that ship. That was when we first got an inclination that Israel could use false flag methods to gain sympathy for interests that they had. Years and years ago, we knew that them as an ally meant that we were going to lose a lot of our own people in the name of their own interests. That they would kill our people for their own interests. We are, a lot of us, on the USS Liberty. Figuratively, we're on the ship. Israeli ships are approaching and we don't identify that they are enemies until it's too late. And that's what's happening there. My good friend is on the USS Liberty. A good portion of y'all are on the USS Liberty. And you think Israel's your friend and they're about to start firing on you. And you need to be aware of that. You need to have some notion of that. They didn't teach you about that in school, did they? No, because it didn't benefit those who were writing the books, who were trying to propagandize your mind to be fine with them being chosen crooks, essentially. We've been raised by the demons that wanted to engage in genocide all this time. They wanted us to trust them so they could turn on us and we would never even think they would. They wanted us to align with what it is that they were interested in so that they could benefit off of it monetarily. They wanted to sell us all different types of awful things and suggest all types of awful things so that we would fight amongst each other because of our differences and never look to them as they were engaging in the different things that ultimately made us deteriorate as a people. This is what they wanted for all of us. All of the goy. They want this for you. They want you to destroy yourselves. They want your empires to fall. They want to blow up your temples, especially if you're Muslim. Prayers out to those who are concerned about Al-Aqsa Mosque in Iran. That's why they're entering Iran. That's why they wage war against Iran, because they want to blow up Al-Aqsa Mosque, if I'm saying it incorrectly, forgive me, and build their third temple there so that they can worship who they worship there in place of what it is that was in there for the Muslim people to worship, the God Abraham. That's why we're in Iran. That's why it's so important that they wage war against Iran, amongst other things. But what the spiritual reason is so that they can get Al-Aqsa Mosque up out of here so that they can build their temple on top of it and welcome the coming of their Messiah, who is actually the Antichrist. That's exactly what these people are doing. Y'all want to know why we're in Iran? That's why we're in Iran. So that they can blow up a temple or blow up a mosque and build up a temple in its stead on its same land. They're sending American children into Iran to die over a bogus war so they can blow up a freaking building and build something there. That's exactly why. And I've said this many times, a lot of what it is spiritual in regards to the situation is much more important to these people than the land. It's much more important to these people than just, you know, oh, we're trying to get some money, or oh, we're afraid of those people, or, you know, we're concerned that they're going to be a threat. They know those people aren't a threat. They understand these people. They understand them. That's the part of this situation that has not been driven home to a lot of people who are paying attention to it. The Israeli Zionist entity very much understands The Muslim Islamic people, they understand them. They want to destroy their peace. They don't like that they praise God. They don't like that they don't herald them as the chosen people. They don't like that they serve God. They don't expect that these people are going to be a threat to their greater Israel project. They don't suspect that these people are going to terrorize them in any way. These are lies that they were telling us so that we will get behind them hurting these people. That's the truth. They don't think Islamic people are terrorists. They know that they're not. They know that they're not. And that's something that I don't think I've articulated at all. And I don't think I've heard anybody else articulate this either. There's no confusion there. They just want you to believe those things so that you'll support them doing this to those people. That's what's going on there. It's exactly what's going on there. These people would live in peace. They will live in peace, dog. If left alone, you can live your dreams while they exist in their power, in their prayers. They don't have any desire to harm anybody. It's the Zionists that want to harm everybody. That's the point. That's why they've been kicked out of 109 damn countries over the course of 400 plus, 500 plus years. Because everywhere they go, they want to create chaos. They want to pin people against one another. They want to siphon off people for their differences. They want to do weird things that are just awful to children. This is what they do systematically. This is what's written in their books. This is what they're about. This is what ultimately they build their platforms and everything they do on. These ideologies, they take them everywhere they go. Everywhere they go. And Iran is the opposite, essentially. The Muslim people are the opposite of that. That's essentially what the truth is, ladies and gentlemen. That's what there is to know. These people praise God. They're kind. And they're trying to discipline themselves against the evils of the world for which the Zionists and that for which the Zionists serve is trying to implement into the world to control it and ultimately coerce it into its destruction. They're trying to ward off the practices that welcome the destruction. That's why they want them off the earth. That's why they want to blow up their temples or their mosque and build a temple, because they're the actual opposite of these people. That's what I've learned. I'm not talking what I think. I'm telling you what I've seen. This is what's there if you do the homework yourself with a sober mind. We've been taught how to believe people who are peaceful people and worship God, a living God, an actual God, the same God that we worship with our religions, are evil people, and that people who worship the devil, the Antichrist, that for who we do not work with, are actually the people we're supposed to be aligning with. This is what is going on there. It's what's going on there, man. And I'm telling y'all, I'm not afraid to tell the truth because I ain't going to be here that long any damn way. What am I worried about? I got to look at it that way as a human being. All right, what I got? The most. It's 90 years? I'm already 41. Why I'm afraid of what's to come? The people who are doing this to us know they ain't going to be around for the destruction that it causes. So too do I know I'm going to be around, not going to be around for the solution that comes from fending off that destruction. I don't care about me in that regard. I care about these kids and their grandkids being able to live in harmony and peace, not being afraid of the truth, and certainly not allowing the Zionist Jew into their lives to create chaos amongst them and their friends in the future. Don't even let them in. You ain't got to kick them out if you never let them in. A good portion of what we taught in these damn schools is a lie. We've been coerced into be fine with people of color dying. your own people, if you're a person of color, people in the Middle East. We always been taught here that it's fine to watch white people kill people of color, slave people of color, that this is just a byproduct of what's necessary to expand civilization as we know it. All of that is demonic. It was never meant for any of those pillars that they built to stand. They planned on destroying them. Everything they built up, they planned on destroying in the process of what it is they were trying to do. A lot of us are, and I'm going to say this, I have come to the conclusion that the Twin Towers were built with the intention of bringing them down in the way that they came down, y'all. That it wasn't just that they brought them down, they built them up to bring them down. They intended to do that to them. And these Zionists did a lot of things to build up America, and their intention is to destroy it. They want to watch it fall. That's the point. A lot of this stuff was created to destroy. And when you wrap your mind around that being the case, then a lot of stuff starts to make even more sense. Some of the stuff was built to destroy. It ain't here to stand. Just like the Zionist isn't confused about Islam, so too am I, a Christian, not confused about Islam. Those are peaceful people. Do they have only peaceful people in their nations? Are they all great people? No, there's no one's a monolith, bro. People say you got bad people everywhere, good people everywhere. You're going to find some Israelis that don't align with this nonsense, and they're revolting in their own state against the nonsense that's been applied to their heads. Nobody's a monolith, man. The head of the Proud Boys is a Cuban dude whose skin color looks like mine. No one's a monolith, man. But we got to understand that the essence of what people practice represents who it is they hope to be as a people. As it pertains to Zionism, they hope to be the eraser of humanity and the bringer about of destruction on the earth. And the Muslim people and the Islamic people are the opposite of that. They want to worship God, they want to defend themselves against that nonsense, and they want to live in peace amongst other people. That's what they want to be. That's what they're raising their kids to be. And the world will tell you otherwise. And I'm going to tell y'all this, man. It's that I know Christ that I'm able to have this truth in my heart. Is that I am a Christian and I believe in Jesus Christ, that I'm even able to have the confidence to tell all of you this. I am not Muslim. I don't need to be benefiting or devastated by anything. It doesn't have to hit me for me to care about it, man. If I'm following Christ, then I'm trying to bring forth a preservation of life, not just my own. Not just people who look like me, pray like me, think like me, feel like me. Anything otherwise put in place is a warping of one's own moral compass. That's a warping that you only want to see your own people succeed, that you only want to see your own kids survive. That's a mental warped nature, man. That you can't live amongst other people in harmony. That's a lie, fam. That's not even true. That's the part that's all screwed up, because so many of us are in clusters of our own people, and we have all these otherings of other people and think so little of other people that we don't even know, that we haven't even incorporated into their lives to see if we can live with one another. We just listen to people tell us that these people can't be rationed around or shared with or what have you. That we actually believe that bull crap. And then we find ourselves indifferent to people suffering who don't look like us. That's a moral deficiency. That's not the reality. You're on the same slab of land. You're on the same earth. People are going to share whether you like it or not. You're not going to just stay in these clusters forever. You're going to move around. You're going to dream big and you're going to stretch wide. So that we tribalize in a way that ultimately stiff arms everybody else is futile, because the world's going to continue to spin regardless. And as it does, people are going to move around and love one another, share one another, and split DNA. Stop being so worried about your people being destroyed, but doing everything you can to make it so that people want to destroy you in the process. You got very intelligent people, can't seem to see that at all. Forest for the damn trees at all. Oh, I'm so worried about our people, we're not going to be around. So let's hurt other people to ensure that we have enough of our people. You're going to make people hate your people for doing that. Nobody's going to want to see you survive doing that. Let's just be honest. Because that's what a lot of white supremacy has done, if I'm being completely honest with you. They're so afraid of being wiped out or bred through, or no longer being the majority, which is it's not even real math any damn way, to be honest with you. Now they're making it so that people despise them in the process of trying to self-preserve. Which is why I tell you Zionism and white supremacy are the same thing, because they really are. In the presence of trying to self-preserve, they're waging war against the rest of the world and making it so that everybody hates them and wants them off the earth. How does that make any dang sense, my friend? How does that make any sense? And I heard this thought so many times coming out of so many different mouths. Oh, the white race is being drowned out in America. We're not having enough babies. The world gonna keep spinning, bro. It's not something you can do anything about without making it so that people ultimately want you gone in your preventative measures of such. You can't save yourself by making yourself the enemy of everybody, fam. That is not gonna save your people. Wiping out people systematically and making people hate you does not make people want to keep you around. It's gonna make people target you. That's all it does. How's that gonna save your people? But we're going to use abortion clinics and put them in all the black neighborhoods. And when I find out about that, what the hell am I going to think of you? What am I going to do to you when I find out you've been trying to genocide me this way? Make some sense of it, man. These people are going to grow up to be terrorists, so we're going to instill terror in their lives. How the hell does that make any sense? These people hate us. They really hate us. So guess what we're going to do? We're going to make them hate us even more. We're going to kill all the kids in front of them. How the hell does that make you safe? We're going to rip these people away from their families because we're afraid there's not going to be enough of us. It ain't going to be many of y'all at all if they wage war against you. It's not good math. It never was good math. It's satanic math. If we're really being honest, it's satanic math, man. You're welcoming destruction and calling yourself preventing yourself from being exterminated. You're welcoming the process of multiple attacks upon your people. And I'm supposed to be the crazy one, right? I'm the one that doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just a guy, right? Whatever. Okay, cool. But am I saying anything that doesn't make any sense? If you hurt my child, what the hell do you think I'm going to do to you? Honestly. Let's just make some sense of this. And you leave me childless and with rage in my heart and terror in my heart, the only thing I'm going to do is be violent. That's it. So how the hell does that make you safer? How does that make your children safer? How does that multiply your numbers as a race? Devil got so many people confused with this damn math, they can't see the truth, man. The truth is it doesn't. It doesn't do any of that, man. Peace does that. Solidarity does that. It makes people champion people. It makes people feed people. It makes people save people. It makes people leave people alone. Forgive people. And we can't see that. Peace inspires tranquility and inspiration that allows for others to allow us to survive. It comes from doing good, not doing evil to people, man. It comes from comforting people in the presence of trauma, not compounding trauma. It comes from doing things the right way and doing good business so that people want to do business with you. You ain't gonna cheat people and demand that you have a fair reputation. That's not how that works. your reputation is supposed to be good for doing harm. It means you're supposed to be a champion for being a destroyer. It doesn't work that way. And I'm going to tell y'all something else. I live in California. I'm going to say something, and this is important. We are connected to South America and Mexico. Connected. Same slab of land. Y'all talk about these borders like you're trying to ward off criminals and individuals. I was listening to this Joe Kent guy talking about we gotta protect our borders and the terrorists that are coming in. The only people that I'm certain champion terrorist behavior are the people who are trying to shove these people out of these lands that they ultimately come from. This is Mexico. California is Mexico. Whether you conquered it outright in ways that you can be comfortable with, because that's what y'all really rationalize your minds around. It's like, yo, we stole the land. It's fine when we do it because we're sophisticated. It ain't fine when they do it. That's something you've agreed to amongst yourself. The rest of the world don't look at it that way. Okay, let's just be honest. The rest of the world don't look at it that way, bro. And you're trying to keep these people over there. You're trying to don't let them come over. If they all decide to rush that damn border, ain't gonna be nothing your ass can do about it. Let's just be honest, bro. If they mobilize as a unit, all of South America, come upwards into North America, they can take it over if they really want to. And ain't no borders, no guns and shit, nothing gonna stop them. They will lose a lot of people doing it, but they will eventually take this shit over. There's enough people down there, bro. They outnumber white supremacy by a whole lot. And that's something that they don't actually have a real thought about. They don't actually see the truth about that. They're not really ready to admit that at all. That currently you are not conditioned for the fighting that you're gonna have to do to keep them people off your ass. That you're gonna have to drop all your atomic bombs, and you got too many damn enemies and not enough of them. America, by the way, with all the enemies that you're waging, once you use your nukes, they're gone. I just want to say that. While y'all dropping bombs and nukes on innocent people and threatening to bomb people that don't want to harm you, there are going to be some people who definitely want to harm your ass who are going to be coming after you do it. And that's another one of them unprecedented, unsafe realities that most of these people who are making these decisions recklessly don't have in mind. They're not thinking about that. They want to drop bombs on Iran in front of innocent people. And you got people who probably want to cut your damn head off. Honestly, for the shit that you probably did that you don't even know you did because you don't share your history. You got more enemies than you got nukes, America. Let's just be honest. You got more enemies than you got nukes. We gotta keep these terrorists out. If you were actually intentional on removing the terrorist from your midst, you wouldn't be looking at people of color, you'd be looking at white people. Those are the people who have predominantly done the most terrorist attacks in this country. You can sell that to the ignorant, but you can't sell that to the woke, so to speak. That is bullshit. It's bullshit. You're not interested in purging terror out of your midst. You're interested in purging those out of your midst that you don't want around you for reasons that have nothing to do with safety. That's to do with your comfort. That's to do with your irrational fear of being blended out. That's to do with your irrational fear about losing your sovereignty from the presence of other people's cultures blending with your own. You don't want to live amongst people. This ain't got shit to do with dying. You're not worried about terrorist attacks. Somebody got to tell the truth, man. Because these people are afraid of the truth. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to acknowledge it, and they believe their own lies. Your threat is not in South America. Your threat is amongst your own damn cousins. And your greatest ally that worships the devil and wants to destroy the damn world, that's who your real enemy is. If you actually want to protect yourself against terrorism, then just like I'm saying in regards to my friend, you had better identify it correctly. Identify it correctly. You're provoking good people, instilling terror into their lives. They react to it, and all of a sudden you think of them as their greatest threat. No, it's a cause and effect. You caused trauma, they crashed out. If you didn't instill the trauma, they don't crash out. Are there going to be some people in their society that are no good? Yes. And if we do it correctly, we'll purge them out. Rapists, child hurters, whatever the word would be, you give them the chair and you keep on moving as a society. There's no need to label every job, everybody, just because we found some bad people amongst some people that maybe don't look like you. Just like you don't want me hurting you because it's a bunch of white people who've done some evil shit. You purge out the bad guys and we continue to live amongst one another free, clear of nonsense. I don't have to label everybody who's brown a bad guy because we found a few bad guys who happen to be brown and is stupid as shit. And it's disingenuous if we're being honest. It's disingenuous. You're serving Satan when you do that, man. You're not about saving yourself or nothing else because y'all reaching each other's pockets when the going gets tough. You'll throw each other to the wolves when the going gets tough. You'll engage in false flag operations that kill your own people to preserve a narrative that allows for you to go and kill other people. You're not interested in terrorist attacks. You're not interested in people coming up from under the border and doing evil stuff. You are doing evil stuff and you don't want to be stopped. That's why y'all want your numbers to be so multiplied, because you want to push forward that same evil shit with enough numbers to fend off anybody who would dare stop you from doing it. Let's be real. This may have been the longest therapy session I've ever done. I'm very comfortable with that. I had a lot on my heart, as always. I'm seeing a lot of evil and a lot of misdirection and confusion and people looking around, enabling nonsense, thinking that they're actually fending off real terror when they're not actually seeing things as clearly as they need to see them. And so here I am trying to bring about some clarity to a people who are enabling terror into their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren's lives by way of the propaganda that they are not able to purge out of their brains. And insert some notion that there is a certain urgency that we have yet to meet with the moment we've been faced with. Your kids aren't safer for that reason. Not because people who look like me may outnumber people who look like you. Because it's a person like me that's telling you this. And it's a person like you who's doing it to you. So, with that being said, I'm praying for everybody all over the world, including Israelis. I'm praying that God has a stronger relationship with all of y'all. Because a lot of you are coercing yourselves into unsafe futures by way of what your reputation is being built up to be while you're engaging in the propaganda of your place, and your times, and your religion. You've been kicked out of 109 countries, and there's a good reason, a very good reason for why that is because you take ideologies that allow for you to be the cancer of the earth into those places, and they kick you out of there to save themselves from what it is that ultimately you try to spread. The world is safer without you, and if you don't want to be purged completely off the earth, you will do a lot of what it is you've been taught for 3, 4, 5, 6,000 years. So that nobody will want to harm you for what it is that you believe, man. Nobody will want you to not have your own land. Nobody will want to see you not receive whatever it is you ultimately are after with your business practices. People won't boycott you for any damn thing. People won't shun representatives of your people if not for the presence of you being evil. Evil. For the sake of evil. For the hopes of what comes of being evil. Let's just not shun the truth so that we can be navigated by its presence. and coerced away from the destruction that comes from avoiding it. Do that for yourselves, if not for your children and your grandchildren who will suffer the ills of what it is you pass forward to them. Praising Hashem. Signed, a rebellious Goy. Bdf 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.